we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have payroll. I think everyone's had a chance to look at that. Any changes, modifications to that?
No.
I'll move that we approve payroll. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have the minutes from our previous meeting. Any modifications or changes to the meeting minutes?
No.
Hearing none, I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And then we had the claims. I think I had a couple questions on those, but I don't think it's anything that'll hold us up. There was one, I think CASA had a large payment, but I think I understand what it is. It's an advertising. Okay. So I guess CASA's advertising on some menus. Like they have at Schnitzelbank, and so they had $1,000 of advertising they're doing at Legacy Steakhouse in Public. They're up for a year. So I guess that's allowable. They do that, and they get a grant every year for capacity building for their trying to get volunteers. So just wanted to check that one out. But anyway, on the claims, anybody have any changes or questions on the claims? Okay, I'll move that we approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. First up, we have the Highway Supervisor Report. Good morning, Mr. Berg.
How are we doing this morning?
Fine and dandy.
Sunshine and no ice. It does good.
The road is still a little moist. Is there something you can do about that?
More sunshine.
More sunshine.
It's here. That's,
I'll let you keep it. I got one last week. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I know what he was.
Sir.
okay. Item number one, we've begun removing all of the damaged materials due to the water leak. Made contact with 7 local contractors to discuss renovation of the office area. At this time, we've had 3 respond. 2 of them we should be receiving prices on this week. I have another one coming in, I think, Thursday morning to take a look at it. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we can get some ideas as far as pricing, what it's going to cost, and where we go from there. So when we do, let you all know, and we'll proceed as quickly as we can. So
What's the nature of the work going to be?
pardon?
What's the nature of the work? What, after you had everything tore out, what has to be replaced, or where are we at?
All of the walls came down, the paneling and everything that was wet, it all had to come down.
The whole front area?
As well as the insulation, I think Sandra said that, as well as the insulation behind it. I think a lot of it had styrofoam board, pretty much as a protective backing for the paneling that was there, but as well as insulation. So all of that had to come down. Some of the insulation up above, because of prior leaks, we took that down. We're kind of doing that on our own. We're not having to replace all of it, but a lot of the damaged stuff we are taking care of. We are going to go back with a kills along the outside block walls to create a vapor barrier so it doesn't affect anything inside. And then we're just talking about studding everything back up and going up with drywall.
So are you gonna have to do the whole hallway and into your office? I mean, you're doing the whole place, even like back to Brent's?
That was hit too, yeah.
How about the insulation in your office, all of that?
On the outside of the wall, or
No, in the ceiling?
the ceiling was done prior to us putting that new roof on there. We had a flat roof, we had a leak. I was moving cables, drops for our internet and stuff, and I pulled the thing, dropped ceiling down, and the insulation was full of mold and everything else that came down on top of it. So we gotta get that out of there as well while we're doing it.
Well, I saw a portion of it when I was there. I didn't know how much of it.
Yeah, it's mainly just the outside edges is where it's at. The middle is okay, but the outside edges where all the leaking happened, that's where it's bad.
What does insurance have to say about it? What they cover some of it or all of it?
We had the cleaning crew in, and we finally got them completed and out. They were on board with us as well to get this thing moving along and proceed. So there's a couple things that I want to discuss with them. I think we've got some issues with electrical, I think as well. We've got a lot of wires that were hanging. We were going to just regroup and make everything a little bit more organized, and we got to change some of the walls because the plug-ins, if we add this drywall, now we're coming out some more. Some of them already had extensions to them. They're all blocked in. You can't really pull them out without a big problem. So we're going to be studding instead of furrow strips. We're going to stud the outside wall and just put a box in place for it. So.
But I mean, is this something that the county is coming out of pocket on, or is there?
That's something I'm gonna talk with them on, since this is a change and we're doing it this way, is the insurance gonna cover this as well, so I'm working on that.
So it's likely that they'll pay for some of it, we'll pay for we'll pick up the difference.
Yeah.
And while you got the walls off, you might as well fix whatever's wrong behind
Yeah, exactly.
you. And it might spruce the place up a little bit. That extra little benefit.
Yeah.
Drywall look nicer than old paint.
That's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item up, we had gotten a complaint regarding trash fees, and what I'd like to do, we look back, we've been handing out these recycling and disposal pamphlets to the public for an awfully long time. If you open it up and turn to the middle page where it says bag trash, it says bagged household trash from DuBois County residents is accepted at the drop sites. Each bag under 45 gallons must have one tag. That would also include the 45-gallon bag. Bags over 45 gallons require 2 tags. Now, this has been like this for a long time. The only reason this came up, when the recycling started, it was always a 45-gallon bag, always has been. And that was for the price of 1 sticker, okay? So all of a sudden, people started coming in with bigger bags. Well, what are we supposed to, the site attendants, well, what are we supposed to do with these bigger bags? Well, since it's not a point of sale, everything is based on that sticker price, so their money comes out. We simply told the attendants to inform the people that it's a 45-gallon bag for this fee. That's what you got to bring in. But if people are going to bring in the larger bags, we'll simply have them put an extra sticker on it to cover the additional cost. Better than to turn them away and find the trash bag laying in a ditch someplace down the line later. Okay, so this was a way to handle it and proceed. So I guess now it's coming to light that someone is a little bit upset by this. So I'd like to read this here. It was something that I sent out to the commissioners as well as the council this morning. And basically states that for decades we've used a 45-gallon size trash bag as the normal volume size for the cost of each sticker sold. On occasion, we've had people bringing in larger bags, which, we've also discussed, would require the second sticker. This was a simple way to handle the issue at the site and not turn away the large bags. This complainant has made a point to request that we change the sale process based on what people bring in. I don't wish for this matter to get more complicated than it needs to be. We have internal controls to live by. If we plan price adjustments to each different bag size, there will be no limit to the variety of sizes that we see. We will have difficult time in inventorying multiple different stickers, as well as those fees charged for any size bag. The only way this works is to create a point of sale at each site and charge by the weight and not the bag size. This method will require a cash register and a scale at each site, and possibly an additional site attendant to cover all this as well. This method will also create much longer lines at the collection sites, which are already long at times. My recommendation is, let's keep it simple and consistent. All sites recommend using 45-gallon bags for disposal. Larger bags will require a second sticker. That's nothing new. This is a choice being made by the user. If $3 for a 55-gallon bag is not fair or too much, then just simply use a 45-gallon bag, which we've recommended all along. It's that simple. Now that this person hears or understands the concept, he has a choice as well. It's just that simple.
My thought is that the board make a formal determination, we put it in the minutes, that way the people that represent this person and other people in the county have had their elected officials make an official determination, just in case there hasn't ever been a formal, which I believe that there has been. Every time a fee increases, we discuss it and we approve it. But just for the record, we can put it on there. And the way I look at it too is our job constitutionally is to do work for the public good, which is a pretty broad and general statement, but the general good is to keep this simple. It's less expensive to operate. It keeps the sticker prices down and the trash prices and recycling prices down for all, if we have it consistent. And I don't think the comparison should be a 45-gallon bag versus a 55-gallon bag. You can bring in a 4-gallon bag, a 13-gallon bag, a 20-gallon bag, a 30-gallon bag, and those are $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
So it's anything under 45 and under is the price, and the above price is more than that.
Yeah.
The other option would be, we just say we don't accept anything over 45, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can do it one of two ways. I think the way we're doing it is just fine. If a person buys if you bring in a humongous bag, you should expect to pay more. I mean, that's not, and it's not a tax; it's a fee. You can choose not to pay it. You can take it to a private disposal company, and they will charge what they charge, and you're welcome to do that. Or you can take it to your local municipality for whatever they charge. It's a public service.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in favor of putting it in the minutes that we approve the policy of any bag size 45-gallon and smaller is at the $1.50. 55-gallon, 45 or above is a more costly thing, with a cap of 55-gallon bags, because we don't want people bringing in something ridiculous, because they make bags even larger than that. So I would say 45 to 55 is the 2 stickers, 45 or less is 1. That's my stance.
I don't think I have anything additional to add to that, other than if you want to save money on a 25-gallon bag, put 2 of them in a 45-gallon bag.
Yeah. And if you don't like it, get a 45-gallon bag.
Well said, Steve, well said. I agree.
Okay, so for the record, my motion will be that we put into the public record that a bag of 45 gallons or less is a cost of a single sticker. 45 to 55 will cost 2 stickers. And I'm saying it as stickers because sticker prices can change over time, but that's the way we do it. So that'll be my motion.
I would say.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The secondary part to that was, why are we buying stickers? You just slap a sticker on it and throw it away. He didn't like that either. I can see that argument somewhat because we pay thousands of dollars for these, but one of the things, I'll be happy to hear your point on it. Some people like it because you can go buy 10 of them today and use them next time you're there.
Mhm.
It's not, it does feel silly if I'm buying one bag, I give them $1.50 and I throw that sticker away. That does feel a little silly, but internal controls it helps with,
Right.
and it helps if someone wants to take some of those things home. So I would favor keeping the stickers. What do you say?
I say the same.
There's reasons we do it,
Mhm.
even though at times it does seem silly for the public. Yeah, up here.
I agree, I mean, even just mainly on that internal control, if, they start the day with 10 stickers and they end the day with no stickers, you know they're supposed to have
$15.
15 bucks. It's not 150. So, you know, I think it's necessary. As far as trash bags going in there, somebody said, hey, I got 10 bags and here's $15. We don't know if they threw 10 bags in there or 12, or if, your side attendant pocketed, you know, a couple dollars.
Mhm.
It just makes sense.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to the next issue.
Okay. Item number 3, Melcon has done a good job of recovering reimbursable taxes for us on our fuel purchases. We've worked with them in an attempt to possibly take over the process. However, the calculations hardly seem to match the reimbursement a lot of times. The numbers that we're putting in sometimes conflict with what they're putting in, and then we're even getting something different from the state. And I know it's difficult for us to properly keep up with changes in law and complete them effectively. Malcon has been doing a good job and has the ability to stay on top of these changes and provide a service that more than pays for itself. I do have I'll just pass this along for all of you. Since we've taken them on, this is the total refund that we've got. They get 50% of that refund up until a cap of $1,500 and a quarter. And these are each quarterly refunds for the taxes that we pay. So we're getting back a decent amount. They're getting paid for their services, and when we know that it's being done, it's done within the law and done the right way. I think the differences that we see when we put it together compared to what they're putting it together, I guess they've got, for each piece of equipment and its use, it's, I guess they look at it a little bit differently sometimes than we look at it. So it's kind of really hard to explain without Malcon actually being here to do it. But we're not always coming up with the same numbers that Malcon has. So that makes us a little bit leery of trying to handle it on our own, because, are we trying to get credit for something that doesn't qualify for the credit or whatever? So I really believe that utilizing them is something that, it's paying for itself, and we're still getting some extra revenue for it. So I would make a recommendation that we continue to use it.
The money that has come in, that 25,000, where does that go? What fund?
Goes back into, now some of these are for highway and sanitation. It would go back to the funds where those credits are.
Wherever that vehicle is being
Yeah.
used, the fuel. So I know when we started this, the goal was originally, we'll take it over and
Yeah.
they would help educate us.
Yeah.
I see your argument on the other hand. Do we have a staff person that is worth learning to do this for $12,000 worth of, or $1,500 worth of each quarter?
Yeah.
What do you guys think? The only thing I do, I just remember when we started this, it was like, oh, great, we'll start with them for a year, and it's been 3 years. But then on the other side too, I know that this isn't anybody's primary job to figure out tax reimbursement.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah.
Commissioner Stefano?
So Malcon does this for us, right? Okay.
And then they split the recovery.
Up to,
Up to 1,500 and a quarter.
So if they get us $3,000, they get 1,500. If they get us 3,500, they get $1,500.
Yeah.
That's the max.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I'd have to stick with your recommendation. Of course, I'd prefer we kept it all, but if you know what the paperwork is like, it's better than I.
I feel more comfortable, I think Ann would as well. Ann would feel more comfortable with that as well, because, the laws change and how you apply them, and it just,
And prior to 19, we were getting zero, right?
Right.
We weren't doing anything.
Mhm.
Commissioner Hofstadter?
No, I agree, I would go with Steve's recommendation.
Okay.
I agree.
I'll move that we follow the recommendation of Mr. Berg and continue our work with Malcon.
Second.
Is there, a first and a second, is there a contract?
there's an appropriation he asks for. Oh, yes, that's right. Let's see here. I'd like to recommend, we need to ask for an additional appropriation of $9,000 to cover the next 6 annual quarters. That would cover us through this year.
Okay. So we pay it 100% out of pocket and we keep 100% of whatever comes back in. And we may not even spend the whole 9,000.
No.
Depending on if they use it or not.
Yeah, and
So-
I think some of those you see, they run to the 1,500 anyway, so we're appropriating the maximum that can be spent and not spending that whole thing, so that'll just revert back into the budget.
So that'll be a situation for the council to handle. But we do have a motion and a second on the floor to stick with Malcon. We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries, and then you'll go to the council for the money.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next item, replace the mechanic service truck. Went to the county council last week. They approved the advertisement for $175,000 to be used for the purchase of the mechanic service truck chassis, as well as the body that goes with it. We were able to locate a chassis which is in the build stage, but has not been claimed yet by its original purchaser. This is from Sternberg's and has a price tag of $74,834 with delivery in July of this year. So that's a plus. So through the Sourcewell purchase, we're going to try to get this. We talked about the ambulances and stuff. These things just aren't available. But since we found one here, it is going to fit our needs. I think the GVW is a lot heavier than our existing truck, so it's not going to be overweight at any point. So it should be able to handle everything that we're wanting to put on it. I think it'll be a good truck for us.
Does that have all the fees and everything that it's going to be from Sternberg? Is that an all-in price?
For the chassis. Now,
Yeah.
we're also looking at Meyer truck for the service body with the components that we're requiring. I think that's at $95,000, so that gets us, within what we're looking for.
We'll still be under the approved. But
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Any comments or questions on the board?
Okay, last item, District 3 boom mower operator. Wayne Schmidt is a mower operator in District 3. He began his service with the Highway Department in May of 2008. He's notified us of his plans to retire, and his last work day will be February 17th of this year. He's been a valuable employee. He's one who never complains. He just goes out there and does a job and does a really good job. It's really cool to see, when we get calls and compliments, that the girls are, they get them up there for everybody to see. And, we always hear the bad stuff, but the good stuff we're sure to post as well, to try to balance this out a little bit. And we're going to miss him as well as the public that he serves. He just does a neat job. He doesn't mess around. He's good on the equipment, so gonna miss him. I do have applications that we have got. I'm looking to put those together. I was gonna bring them along this morning, but I left them on my desk, so. But what I'd like to do is try to set up interviews for this Thursday, if that's doable, so.
So are these people that have applied for a previous job and you had them on file, or have you advertised for this?
We advertised for this position.
Okay. I didn't know how long you knew that one was retired.
Yeah, he's told us a little while back, and I think we advertised this thing about 3 weeks ago.
So you happy with the people that have applied? Good.
How many got? Then you're.
I think altogether we had like 8. 4 of these have operational CDLs, which is good. I mean, you obviously don't need it for the boom mower, but during winter time, he's gonna be operating a snowplow, so therefore we have to have a
Sure,
CDL, so.
Sure. That's a plus.
But, yeah, these, once we interview, we'll have the CDL, so.
I'm showing my Thursday open, but let me get back to you just to make sure.
Okay. Outside of that, that's all I've got.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brent, we're gonna take you forward, okay?
We go to move this back up.
Sure.
Copy.
Yeah.
Let me
All right,
know
one
when
miscellaneous
Thursday's
item
first
here,
time.
we have
Thursday's
the
first time.
yearly agreement for professional area economic development services with Du Bois Strong, and the agreement for another one for professional area economic development services for Grove Du Bois County. I think everyone has had a chance to review those. Are there any concerns before we execute those agreements? Okay. Just for the record, I'll move that we approve signing those. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Cindy, would you like to see these, or you just want me to return them? I think there's a copy there for you. Okay, thank you. Next up, we have a remote work request from the prosecutor. Hello.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So I have a remote work agreement form that I got from Marky that I'll pass out for you all to see. I'm sure you're all aware of what's going on with Judge Quinn, his medical issues, and his wife works in my office, Brandy, and she is requesting to be able to work from home and work from the rehab facility in Newburgh for a period of time. She's requesting from February 7th to February 24th and return in the office on February 27th. He should be coming home soon. He's going to be doing outpatient therapy from home soon. I don't think there's a definitive date yet. He's had some things going on that have bumped the date back. So she can do her job from home. There's no reason she can't. We have Surface Pro tablets. She's been keeping up on her stuff since she's been out. She's been using some sick time. And so, I mean, really, she has a printer at home and she'll use her phone if she needs to call anybody, but she's completely capable of doing her job from home. It helps me because it keeps us caught up. Obviously, with victim notification, we have to have time frames where we notify victims. And if she's not here, I mean, it could get done, but really Brandy's the only one that does Brandy's job. So it would be my request that you approve her to work from February 7th to February 24th from home and from the rehab facility. And I believe that's in accordance with the handbook. The handbook talks about an FMLA qualifying condition and employees being able to do their work remotely. So that would be my request.
Here's the handbook. I don't know if you printed that, or do you have that, or do you want to put it up here? Okay.
Yeah, I'll leave that.
Okay,
If you got
right.
anything for anything, the reference or anything.
So Marky is the illness or sickness in the family considered an FMLA event for, in this case, Ms. Quinn?
Yes.
Okay, so if if a deputy clerk has a spouse who had a medical condition, that person can take off of work, have their position held under, have those FMLA protections, for that time frame. That works. Okay. And has that paperwork been filed?
Yes.
So, that being the case, I don't see a problem with it. When I read it initially, I thought, I didn't know the rules, so I assumed that it's, if someone, a secondary person is ill, that's not an FMLA event for you, it might be for another person. So I just wasn't aware of the rules. But if that's how it is, it fits within the handbook, in my opinion, and it's something that we can improve if we find it, appropriate. What do you have to say?
I have no issue with it. I mean, if you as the department head feel like she's gonna get her work done and you're comfortable with that, I don't have a problem with it.
We do tasks in our office, and I've been keeping an eye on her tasks, and she's been getting them done, and so I think it's fine. I think she, obviously it'd be a lot for anybody, but I think she can juggle it.
You would know,
Yeah.
You would know better than anybody, so I'm okay with it.
Do you have a recommendation, Mr. Rose?
Yeah, I would recommend to allow it to happen, yeah. So being best talk about it beforehand, like you said, I got the paperwork and that, so, not everybody can do remote work, but for those that have the capability to, I think through the COVID years, we've seen that's a big thing that's coming around, so I wouldn't have no problems with that.
I'll move that we approve the remote work request from Ms. Hermstein.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, appreciate it. Thank you, Marky.
So where did that work out? Because that was one of those where I thought, I didn't know. I guess I'm ignorant to some of those rules.
But Marky's right.
So hey, that gets us,
Awesome.
Mr. Windholt, can you get more than 10 minutes worth?
I can do it 10.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you.
Okay, 9:00, we will receive bids for repaving Portersville Road in the town of Portersville as part of Community Crossings 22-2. So once those are read aloud, I'm gonna take them over here, plug and chug and make sure all the numbers work out. Hopefully at the end of the meeting, I'll be able to give you a recommendation on who to award it to. So keep that in the back of your mind. I may or may not think how the numbers work out. Safe Streets for All action plan. So federal government awarded us a grant. It was in the amount of $84,000, and that is for 80% of the total loan. So the counties are on the hook for 20%, which gives us roughly $105,000 worth of work that we can do for the action plan. Right now, I don't have any more news than we were awarded. Federal government's supposed to get back to us about getting a contract. We'll have to get a contract through them, and then we can hopefully get a consultant on board and get the action plan started and get moving on. So
Do you have someone in mind, or are we gonna try to?
I have somebody in mind, yeah, that's someone that helped us with the application.
Okay. I
So,
remember that.
And this was your first grant writing, was it not?
yeah,
Congratulations.
don't get too comfortable with it. No. That was not fun.
Next time, over 100,000.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, let's keep expecting
We're
more.
gonna keep getting more.
Oh my. We're gonna pay you the same, but please do more.
Distress Road, so that's gonna come up here pretty quick. We'll go before the council at the February meeting to get signatures and approvals for the application. I sent you guys the application via email. I know it was a very large document, so if you want me to print one out, I'm happy to do that. The one thing is that the CD for Distress Road is not due till July, does not come due till July. Then we will, so we cannot pay it off till August. That's when it has to be paid. So as far as deadline for we're not a big deal. We just won't be able to apply for the Distress Road until that CD is due and paid off. So we'll get done in February, and it may sit on the shelf till July or August, and then we'll submit it and go.
Unless we take a big hit on the interest.
Yeah, but I don't recommend that. It's like, let's say $5,000 will take a hit
At this moment.
at this moment right now. So we're better off just let it wait, The thing is with the stretch road, we won't be able to pave it until next year. So it'll be some of what we do now will come January, February, I'll bid the stretch road projects. Which could give us better prices too, because contractors don't have anything on the books yet. So it's maybe a blessing in disguise too. So that's all I got there. And then Bridge 14, the replacement on Division Road. So that project is going slowly. It's not the contractor's fault. Water came up, flooded them out. Not a big deal. It happens. They did get the west above it is complete. Now they're waiting on the east one. That's when the water came up. So they did drive sheet piles to help keep the water out. And then water came up over the top of the sheet piles. So now it's down below. On Friday, it was about 6 inches the sheet pile were showing. So they're able to pump. And I think they're going to get started today, getting the water pumped down, and hopefully get the things formed up going. So it's slow. We knew the water had a chance to come up. It just came up quicker than we thought it would. So once the abutments are complete, then it smooths down and they'll be out of the water. So that's all I have. Like I said, I know I can do it in 10 minutes. So you guys have anything?
Are we gonna talk about the street signs? Should we go ahead and just do that now? We've got 5 minutes.
On 164?
Yeah, so, we got a phone call last week, a lady at my work complained, and then we got a letter. So when we get 3 people complaining about something, it's a big deal, because most of the time, people don't complain about it. So I guess it's something that people are noticing. I think my person at work said, it's not fair, they're really ragging you on Facebook. I said, I didn't notice. So, and I guess they put our phone numbers on there, which our phone numbers are on the website, so it's not like they're really doing anything. They're not like outing us or anything. We want to be contacted if there's a problem. Just for the record, 164 is a state highway. We didn't make any, our highway department didn't put the signs in, and we didn't direct you to put the signs out. But that being said, we are a voice of people, and if the people have a complaint, we can give a voice to those complaints if we feel it's appropriate. So what they said here is they traveled the road. They had 160 signs that were new on a 6-mile stretch. I didn't have it in me to drive the whole stretch, so we drove half of the stretch and we counted about 83. So it's probably accurate. That's one way. I don't know. It seems like overkill to me, but I'm sure they have engineers that have never set foot on that road that look at it from an aerial map, and they probably have a standard that they put in. And my assumption is that they probably contract the work of putting those signs in the ground to some third party. So when a local person says, can you please move it over this way a little bit so it's not in the middle of my yard, what they've been told is no. I'm paying to put it right here.
Yep.
And so it's a bad situation for homeowners if they don't like it. We don't have the direct authority to say, Brent, go move the thing, or have somebody move it. But it is something we can discuss. Anybody up here have a thought?
I live on that road and I don't like them either. They're in my front yard and I'm gonna have to mow around them, and I drive that road every day. I know the curves, so I don't think I'm necessarily a good judge. If I were pulling a boat out that way and it was my first time going to Patoka, maybe they're helpful. I don't know, but I think they're gonna make people drive faster now. That's just my opinion though.
The thing that I found odd was, and I think this person may have referenced it, sometimes there's like turn the arrows on spots that there's almost no curve. The road is pretty
Well, that's what
straight.
this guy said.
There's a couple of
On
those in my front yard.
straightaways, there's turn signs.
And they're like, well, if it goes this much, there's other roads in the state that curve a little bit. You don't put those signs everywhere. If you do that, it'll be like Mr. Schneider, I think, and I talked about, like in Ferdinand, they have crosswalk signs, crosswalk ahead signs. And it just uglies up everything. And does it really protect life? Probably not much.
Right.
I don't know, is there something we want to do as a board? Do we want to ask Brent to pass our complaint on to Vincennes, or do we want to let it sit and say it's not our problem? What action do you?
As far as I'm concerned, living on that road, I'd love for you to reach out and say, hey, we don't like this. I'm pretty sure everyone that lives on our road don't like this.
I'm happy to do it.
I know it won't go anywhere.
Okay, and as long as you understand that, I will go find out who to contact and try to email them, send a formal email to the state. We've got several complaints, but I'm afraid it won't help.
Bruce, what are your thoughts on it? Have you seen the signs? Have you-
I actually have seen the signs. I came back from a meeting on Monday night in the ice, and there was a lot of glare off of those signs.
Yeah.
I think it's overkill, but if you could reach out, it'd be much appreciated. The lady that wrote me the letter contacted Steve for a contact. She's pretty irate. I can understand her being in the yard, the signs in her yard, as she says. I mean, you know, she's worried about the value of her property, you know, with these signs in her yard. You know, and I understand that we have to give her some kind of, or whoever, some kind of a reply, you know, and at least look into it. Whether we can do anything is a different story. So it wasn't up to us to begin with.
I like your point though about the glare.
Yeah.
Because we want them to be high reflectivity. I mean, there's a standard they
But
can
it was
measure
kind
those.
of annoying.
But when I looked at one of the new signs and it did it,
Which I know with the ice and everything on Monday night, you know, the
It,
glare.
it amplifies it.
And
It does.
that's, yeah, I understand that, but it was
so that glare was more of
annoying.
it did the opposite of the
Yes.
intended purpose of the reflectivity of the sign.
Oh, I
It might
I mean,
go and
unsafe
go
as
like
you drive. So
40 at most, but you know, when you're going around those long turns with those signs, you've got that glare.
Every corner you hit, you're getting one.
Yes,
No, I agree. Like I said, I'm happy, and I will send an email, but I'm afraid it's horrible to say, but I will do that.
it may be asked, I doubt there is, but as part of the email, is there a remonstrance possibility? Is there something where if the locals don't like it, I would doubt there is, because the argument will be, this is what we found through studies to be the safest thing to do. And that's hard to argue against if that's what they have done. But, you know, something.
and I'm sure if you reach out, there would be any possibility of them reaching out to,
It'll cycle through me.
So no, I think I'd appreciate that, and if there is something that can be done, great.
It's fine.
So it is. So my other question though, I'm certain there's road standards for signage, and do you go by the same road standards that they do?
Yes and no. So there is a manual for uniform traffic control devices. And then their standards, because their roads are much more heavily traveled and their type of traffic is different than what our type of traffic is and speeds. So there's two different codes, two different sections in that manual. Local rural roads, and then there's your state highways, your bigger roads.
It's like you would see with a lot of state statutes, if your population is 50,000 or over, these are the rules, if it's 50 or less. And
Yeah.
it's the same way with capacity on a road.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked that is, does anybody look at what we do? Because I live on 2 90-degree turns, and we have like 3 signs, turn signs. I would think if the state was there, we'd probably have 7.
Right, yeah.
So I didn't know if we were doing something wrong or if they were overkilling.
And it's also our you have the ability to make those decisions. That's the reason you guys have me employed.
Discretion.
Yeah, it's our discretion. So
Yeah.
let's go through and look at that stuff. For instance, on 400 and 500, we have signs that meet the manual, but there's been several accidents, so we're gonna alter things and shift things a little bit and hopefully alleviate some of the headaches there. But again, I'm putting 2 signs in my yard, but they know about it, so it's understandable, but that's just things that we're gonna have to do as well.
On 164, have there been wrecks? I mean, you live out
How do
there.
they determine that?
Yeah.
Because
I think that's gonna be the main,
It's
people
a
who live out that
56.
way are gonna say, nobody's running off the road, so
Right.
why are we doing this?
So I said, how do they determine that many, justify that many signs?
And I don't know that answer. I can try to find that answer, where they can have the justification so we can handle it in the future. So,
And you said there's another highway that they're thinking about doing?
well, I don't know for a fact, but I was on 145 south of Birdseye last week, and there were several markers there. I mean, there were posts and woodlies, paint right away, or locate markers all along there, so I'm assuming that's gonna be a similar situation. Which is what 164 looked like before all the chevrons went up.
no, we had Sandalwood curve.
Hmm.
We had truck after truck and car hit that over the years. Okay, they made some changes. They added rumble strips, added signage, didn't work. They straightened it out. Okay, but I haven't heard of any. I mean, it's a pretty heavily traveled, and it's people that are usually towing something, and you would think if there was accidents, well, then we up the game, but
Yeah.
this might be a solution looking for a problem, create a problem. Okay, thank you for your feedback on that.
Yep, and I'll work on an email this week.
Thank you, Brian.
Climate education. Good morning.
Mark Notarski. I'm just here primarily to introduce Danny, to share with you some information. Before we do that, we met with the council last week with kind of the same information. And one of the things that we're trying to encourage, or at least that I'm trying to encourage, is a published report. It was either 2 years ago or last year by the Center for Rural Engagement, listed of several projects that were recommended for the county, and they gave kind of a who should lead that. And one of them for DuBois County was to create a climate action plan. So we were there at the council. I was encouraging, I don't think anything has been done yet, but I'd like to, I don't know what the process is, but I'd like to encourage that to continue. And with that, I'm going to let Danny take over because she can tell you more about that kind of stuff and what her responsibilities are and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. Thanks for allowing me to speak with you all this morning. So my name is Danny Schaus, and I'm here to speak to you today on behalf of Earth Charter Indiana and the work that I'm trying to do here in DuBois County on climate change. So Earth Charter Indiana was founded in 2001 as a statewide nonprofit organization. Their focus is on intergenerational action and education in the face of climate change. So what we as citizens can do to mitigate the crisis and how we as a society can adapt to it with dignity and resilience. Earth Charter emphasizes the empowerment and education of youth regarding this and supports them in expressing themselves to make their voices heard. So Earth Charter has a lot of programs that might be of interest to you, including the Thriving Schools Challenge program, their annual Climate Leadership Summit, and the program that I'm a part of called the Resiliency Coordinator Program. So I'm a part of that statewide program as the DuBois County Resiliency Coordinator. And these coordinators basically engage folks locally in their communities to help advance climate solutions, conversations around the issue, and then just to educate as well. So I grew up in Holland, graduated from Southridge in 2009, and I went on to attend Indiana University where I earned multiple degrees in environmental management, Spanish, and then later a master's degree in environmental policy and sustainability. So I'm really passionate about this topic, and for the past almost 15 years, I've been learning and working on these kinds of environmental issues. I moved back to Southern Indiana last April to be closer to my family, and because I wanted to bring my passion and expertise back with me. So I'm sure everyone in this room is familiar with the basic concept of climate change, but what might not be clear to folks is the local impact of that. So according to the Indiana Climate Change Impacts Assessment, which was prepared by climate scientists and experts from Purdue, IU, Notre Dame, Ball State, and the Midwestern Regional Climate Center, DuBois County is set to see significant changes in the number of 95+ degree days, as well as much wetter winters and springs by the 2050s. So on average, we expect to see at least 55 days per year with greater than 95 degree temperatures, compared to our current average of only 3. So that's basically a month and a half of really high heat days. We'll also expect to see our average overall temperature increasing. Summer by the 2050s, we'll see our average hottest day of the year at 107 degrees Fahrenheit, compared to our previous average of 95 degrees. And that's not including humidity, which we all know is already a huge issue and a big doozy, right? So when people are exposed to extreme heat, they can suffer from potentially deadly illnesses, such as heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and even death from heart attacks, strokes, and other forms of cardiovascular disease. In fact, heat is actually the leading weather-related killer in the United States, even though most of these deaths are preventable through outreach and intervention. Certain populations already face these higher risks from heat-related death, and increases in those summertime temperatures will only continue to increase that risk. Adults 65 and older have a much higher than average risk from these deaths, and children are also particularly vulnerable because they rely on others to keep them safe, and their bodies are just not yet able to adapt to heat as much as thus adults in this room. People with certain diseases, such as those cardiovascular and respiratory illnesses, such as asthma, are also very vulnerable to this excessive heat exposure, not to mention economically disadvantaged folks who might not have access to cooling and consistent AC in their homes. Heat waves are also projected to increase under climate change, which can also directly threaten livestock. So in 2011, exposure to these high temperature events caused over $1 billion in heat-related losses to agriculture producers. Heat stress affects animals both directly and indirectly, and over time, that heat stress can increase their vulnerability to disease, reduce fertility, and actually reduce their milk production. I'm already not thrilled with the price of eggs, as I'm sure you all aren't either, so I can't imagine what this might do to our meat prices if that continues. DuBois County is also on track to see a significant increase in the amount of spring rainfall, which is sure to cause more flooding and issues for our local agriculture. DuBois County is actually projected to see an increase of 16% in our spring rainfall by the 2050s. This will mean less time to get crops in the ground, more flooding, and a possible increased likelihood of drought during the summer when we need the rain. So why am I telling you all of this? I realize this paints a very gloomy picture for DuBois County, but I'm actually really hopeful. In my previous job at Indiana University, I ran a program for young environmental professionals that were looking to gain real-world experience working on climate change. So these youths were placed with campuses, with companies, nonprofits, and local governments across the state of Indiana. And they were all helping those communities take an active role in preparing our state for what's coming. So according to a recent study, Indiana is actually predicted to see a 29% increase in green jobs over the next 5 years. So that's 2027, 2028. It's really encouraging. And I think with our strong economy, welcoming community, and hardworking ethic, I believe our county has a real opportunity to become a leader on addressing local action on climate here in Indiana. So my goal for the county as our resiliency coordinator is that every community is covered by a climate action plan and takes actionable steps to implement that plan. I've already spoken, as Mark mentioned, we spoke to the council last week, several business owners, I've spoken to the city of Jasper, and a lot of passionate folks across the county over the past several months. And the resounding response has been that the county should be the one to lead this effort. I understand this will take work, but I've already seen other communities in Indiana take these big steps. So I know that Northwest Indiana actually passed their own regional climate action plan recently, and that work was started in late 2019 as an effort from another one of the resiliency coordinators that I know and work with. So I believe we have the resources locally and the attitude to get this done. Our neighbors actually down in Evansville recently passed their own climate action plan, are getting ready to hire their first sustainability manager. So why not us? Typical climate action plans are developed by individual communities to address their quality of life, environmental needs, economic considerations, and other unique community needs that are identified during that planning process. I think a regional approach in DuBois County could be the best way for us to take action. I think we're stronger together. We face a lot of the same challenges and opportunities, whether we live in Jasper, Huntingburg, Holland, Ferdinand, or somewhere else in the county. I also recognize that more education on this topic may be needed locally. So Mark and I are launching an informal community group this month called Green Drinks 812. So this group is open to anyone in the county that's interested in talking and learning about these issues. And it's my hope that we can help everyone here better understand and begin to take some steps on climate change. We'll be hosting our first Green Drinks meeting on Tuesday, February 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. at St. Benedict's Brewworks in Ferdinand. So we're inviting some friends from our neighboring counties and communities to come and join, but I hope to see some of you there. And really we're focusing on DuBois County and what we can do here. This is going to be a free event. We'll host a monthly event. And in future meetings, we'll start to bring in local experts to talk about different topics and share ways that folks can get involved. Du Bois County is a really special place, and I'd love to see us take this coordinated action to address climate change. I'm a daughter, a wife, a sister, small business owner, and I'm a local member of this community. And one day I'd love to raise a family here. And I know it would make me feel really proud and supported if I knew that our county was serious about addressing this and had a plan in place to take these steps. So thanks again for the time to speak with you all. Let me know if you have questions.
The Evansville plan or that regional plan from up north, any of those, are they available? Like you said, this is an educational process, and I know what you said today is the extent of what I know. So, you know, if we had one of those, so I would know, I guess if I had one in my hands, I could look at it, it might
Sure.
make more sense to me what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send you some links or PDFs of them. I'm a
I
nerd
think
and I
that'd
have
be a
to
good
say.
step for me,
Yeah, sure.
otherwise you're
Flying blind.
talking to a guy, didn't know what you're talking
That's
about.
okay.
So I think that would be, because, yeah, I guess I don't know what to expect of what a plan would entail, what action the plan would call for. Yeah, I feel like I'm on step one here.
Yeah.
And when you said regional would be best approach, are you talking the region being the county or the region being other counties along with our county?
Yeah, so I'm thinking region as really as a county-wide. I guess maybe that's a better word or way to describe it. I know of other regions that have done multiple counties. It kind of depends, and as we get into this process, right, we might decide that is a better approach, or it might make sense to do Jasper has a plan, Huntingburg has a plan. But what I envision, because I know we share a lot of the same issues and opportunities, what I envision is having a framework for everyone in the community, and then that local government could take that down and say, okay, we're gonna take this plan in this direction because we know our community needs X, Y, and Z. Does that make sense? That's kind of what I'm thinking, just to kind of get everyone on the same page, because you can take in a lot of different directions.
We have to open bids in 2 minutes, but if we want to give everybody a chance to give any other questions.
I don't
What
have
time is the meeting? It's the 21st?
6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Yep, there's a Facebook event.
Green drinks?
Green drinks.
That sounds like a nasty health drink. I don't want it. It's like
It's not green
it's got
juice.
kale in it or something. So where'd you come up with that name?
It's actually an international group that's been around since like 2007. You can just sign up and say, I want to do a local chapter. And
So it's just people do things, they get together and you have a
Yeah.
drink of some sort, you discuss. It's
Yeah.
kind of that kind of,
absolutely.
it's not a kale smoothie.
It's not a kale smoothie.
Okay.
Can be if you want.
It's
Can
good.
be if you want. I
They
don't
sell
know if
those
Brewers has that.
Brew Works.
Awesome.
No, I think our, here, I can move my card, I think I have one here.
Yeah, I'm happy to
My
send
email
you
address
some
is on there, and I can forward it to the other
info.
two.
Perfect. Yeah.
That's all I have, I think.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Schneider, Mr. Wendell, we have highway bid openings for the Portersville Road project.
There are 4 bids here. First bid we are opening is from Calicar Paving. Their bid is in the amount of $532,637.10. 532,637.10. Second bid we are opening is from E&D Paving. They have a total bid of $582,900, 582,900.00.
third bid is from J.H. Rudolph and Company. They have a bid price of $572,701.50. 572701.5. Fourth and final bid is from CNR Construction. Their bid is in the amount of $537,594.00. 537594.00.
Okay, the bids will be taken under advisement. If they seem appropriate, we can make a determination at the end of the meeting. Anything else to be done over there at this time, Mr. Sheriff?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's talk about some miscellaneous items. We have a few minutes until the next item. The first thing I'd like to discuss would be the leadership training course. Or Marky had said something to us. In 2021, we sent, Marky went to it himself, but didn't go to it. It's an online 12-week course, I believe. We had 2 other employees, one in the treasurer's office, one in the recorder's office in 2022, and we have money budgeted to pay for that again for the upcoming, for this year. So I think it's always a good idea when we have, even if it's just one person, to put an appropriate person through training, leadership activities, anything like that, if we can, to help with the health of our staff. I think I may have sent an email to you with my thoughts on it. Either if you have any thoughts on, one, continuing that, and 2, if we do continue it this year, who to put into that?
I think it's a good idea to continue it. My question was gonna be, do we have someone who would like to do it? I think in the past 2 years, we had someone kind of come forward and say, I'd like to do that training this year. I don't know if anyone came forward this year.
I don't think we've really made it.
We have it in public too.
Yeah.
But
So my thought, I think in my email was, we have new council members, if one of them, because what we need is, let's say Mr. Kleesner, he will be the council president forever, maybe a person on that board, a new person, maybe it's a good deal for them, or maybe on our board, if one of us wants to do it, we could do it. But I guess my first thought was those council members. Generally, it's been we've only done it a few years, it's been a regular employee, but maybe an elected official or a regular employee either one. So my thought was, we ask the council if they want to, if anybody on their board wants to do it. If not, we can open it up. And the bad thing about opening it up to everyone without us just selecting someone is, if you have 10 people that are interested, you only select one. Why did you select Mr. Smith and not Mr. Jones? And then you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings necessarily either. Do we want to start with the council and
Sure.
see if they have any takers? If not, we'll look elsewhere. Is that good enough?
that's good.
And what's that called?
I think it's NATO leadership training. Mr. Schmidt, you excited to do some leadership training?
I think it'll definitely be interesting, yes.
You might consider it?
We'll
So-
probably need to get the other people on the council opportunity too, I guess, but yes.
Sure.
I think there'll be some interest, yes.
I think there will be, and, the three of us won't be on here forever, so if somebody else was gonna take one of our spots, it'd be nice to have them trained in leadership. Yeah. So, we'll ask the council first, and we'll go from there. The next item. Mhm. We've already addressed the signs on the state highway, we've addressed the trash bags. Something that Mr. Rhodes talked about, it's been a week and a half ago, was should we become members of the Jasper Chamber of Commerce? He brought that up, and so I guess we need to tell him if that's okay or not okay, appropriate, not appropriate expense. And one of the reasons is the chamber puts out emails to, I'm sure some of you may be on it, and they put job postings out occasionally, and he thought that may be of value to him. So, as I mentioned, I'm a member of the chamber. I like the chamber. I appreciate what they do. The thing was, I didn't know if we wanted to. Would the county be, we have the chamber president in the room, so I'll ask why you're.
Why I'm here.
That's not why you're here, but one thing I asked Mr. Rhodes was, would we be under the nonprofit, or would we get our business?
Yeah, you would be under the nonprofit.
Okay.
So I think it's around 130, if I can recall, something like that.
So, I just want to hear your thoughts on it. And my thought was, well, if we sign up for that, would we sign up for the Du Bois Chamber as well? And is there other things we sign up for? So I don't know if I think what they do is great, but I don't know if it's appropriate to sign up at the City of Jasper as a member. So, anyway, anybody have thoughts?
I don't feel strongly either way. I guess if it's, one thought is, it's in Marquis' budget to let you do it, but the other thought is, well, everyone in the county would want to be, everyone from Du Bois County would want to be that member, not just.
We could at least put on our email distribution list, the county commissioners and the county council as a starting point, Markey.
The main thing I think he would want to do is he spends money on Indeed.com and on other things when we put in the Herald for advertising jobs. If nothing else, this is a job advertising post. So, I find value there. So if it was the Du Bois County HR and he finds value in attracting a better batch of employees, I think it's appropriate.
Mark, you feel strong about it?
So we don't have, I don't think we have opposition. If
No, I'm not
he feels,
opposed to it.
do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it would be a good idea. Just knowing from when I've had to put ads out, and the job posting would be it would save us money in the long run.
I know what I spent on Indeed and, what is it, ZipRecruiter and stuff like that, so it's far more than $130.
And we don't charge for the employment opportunity listing.
Okay. I'll let him know that it'll be his determination. If he has a budget for it, he's welcome to use it. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. Okay, we still have a couple more minutes until our ambulance presentation. So I'll give everybody an update on as a reminder, at the beginning of the American Rescue Plan dollar situation. One thing that the county invested in was $2.5 million to work with Orange County Fiber, PSCI, and Du Bois County Rural Electric on getting poles ready to run internet and to speed up the process of getting internet deployed to people in Du Bois County. So what would have taken potentially 5 years, we have an agreement to get those things done in 2 years. And I wanted to get an update on where we were. So I reached out to Mr. Deaton with Orange County REMC. And here's some of because I said, well, where are you at now? Where will you be, and how are things going? Where will we be? Will we be done within the timelines that we agreed upon in our contract? And I'll give you a quick summary. or for the public, a summary. They're currently connecting homes all around the east side of the county, along State Road 145, west 600 North, South Club Road, East Schnellville Road, St. Anthony Road, Santine Road, South Harts Gravel Road. So they're connecting homes in those areas. Over the next few months, they'll be building out Highway 56 from Hillham to Hayesville, Jasper Dubois Road, Kellerville Road, Portersville Road, on the way down to the Division, the water tank in Ireland there, on Division Road. So as you can tell, some of those roads are roads that are more heavily traveled, so they're doing the main arteries before they go out and do the fingers down some of the smaller roads. They'll be focused on the north portions of the county in the next couple months, which selfishly, that's good to hear, because I live on the north side of the county. And my internet is pretty terrible currently, so looking forward to that, and I'm sure a lot of other residents are. He said that things are generally on track. There's been, with any kind of large scale project like this, they're ordering poles and they're trying to keep the work with Dubois REC, keep them in the materials they need to keep this progression happening. And at this time, we still think we'll meet the 2023 timeline for drop completion.
Oh, wow.
So that's good news for those 5,000 plus people that were supposed to be attached to this. So I think it's kind of one of these where it's real slow. We're going down the arteries, we're putting poles in, and all the work that doesn't get the internet to the home. But once those big things are up, then you can start getting them doing the drops to the houses. So I'm excited, looking forward to that. If you have any more questions than that, you can let me know, and I can ask Mr. Deaton to give us more of an update, or I can ask PSC as well. So we fully funded the portion of it that went to PSCI on the south, or more in the southern part of Dubois County, and they're doing their work as well. Next up, we have an ambulance request from Mr. Young.
Thank you.
Good morning.
So I got some documentation up here. So the first page there is kind of where we're at from the standpoint of ambulances, and kind of like a replacement schedule I'd like to try to get to. And then the additional pages there are fleet service reports on each unit. And those are in the categories as they appear from oldest to newest on the front sheet. So currently we have 2 ambulances that are on order, one of them which is a remount, and the other one is a new that we did around this time last year. I think we were March timeframe that we put an order in for. The issue is now, if we ordered it today, we would not take receipt of it until 2025. So we're kind of the backlog is continuing, and we're looking at 2 years out. So the third one on that list is the next one to be replaced. It's got 270,000 miles on it. So if we're talking 2 more years, you'll see the bottom of that page, the newest one we've got, we've put about 25,000 miles on it in the first year. So you're talking another 50,000, we're gonna be right up to the 320,000 mile range. So as you can see, those first 3 trucks this past year, each truck cost about $15,000 to $20,000 to make repairs and maintenance costs too. So just trying to, if we would do this replacement cycle, we would be cycling through 1 ambulance every year. So we have 7 ambulances, so it would be a 7-year time frame. We try to get 7 years out of them. So kind of the idea is to try to get to them before it starts costing us $15,000 to $20,000 a year in repairs.
So I met with Mr. Young last week, and we were discussing should we buy all new? Should we do a remount again? My suggestion to them was we have 1 remount on order. We've never had one before. We don't know exactly what we're getting. We think we're going to get a high quality product that will last us and save us money. So the question was, should we buy a completely new unit, or should we get in line for another remount? My suggestion was, let's buy a completely new model until we at least have one remount in the rotation to make sure, I'm always wanting to save money, but if this remount comes in and we have problem after problem,
So the
I'd like
difference
to have one
between
under our belt before
the
we.
new and remount, new is all new. Remount is we take the box off the existing ambulance. They basically strip the box down and replace stuff that needs to be fixed on it.
How many
So-
remounts have we had in the
We've
past?
never had one before.
This is the
This
first.
That's why I'm saying, let's try one first.
So the new one was about 318, I think, and some change, $1,000. The remount was closer to 250, so we were saving about between $60,000 and $70,000 to go the remount option, which the boxes are currently warranted for 20 years. So if you figure we're on a 7-year, 10-year, I think the one we're remounting is 10 years old. So the box still should be good for another 10 years warranty wise. But do we have stuff on it that fails, lights and switches and all those type things? So is it, I kind of agree with Mr. Blessinger's assessment of, we've never done this before, so, and I don't want to do another one and then we have two problems versus one problem.
Agree.
So,
I would love in the future, if the remount situation works, that we buy new, remount it once, then replace.
Yep.
That would be cost effective if it functions as we need it to.
So when they do the remount, they don't replace the lights and stuff on it, wiring?
they can, they do, some of it is just dependent. I think most of the wiring and stuff they do, like the upholstery, the floors, those type things, they may leave in there if they don't look bad. But I think most of the wiring and any mechanical stuff they replace.
I was just trying to get a picture of what failures could happen.
So I guess my thought was to, generally, if this was 3 years ago, I would have told him, don't order something now that we don't need for 2 or 3 years, but we're in a different world now, and we don't pay for it until it gets here anyway. That was my other concern, was that we have $300,000 floating out there that we can give it to someone, we don't have a product. That's not how it works. We put the order in, and we just guarantee that we'll pay upon receipt. So when it comes in 2025, we'll be on track. If we don't do it, we may be getting behind. So my suggestion would be to get the order in.
So they're telling me that the chassis are becoming more available, but they just got so much of a backlog of people that they're trying to work through the backlog. So hopefully that time frame will get better, but these two that we have on order, they've already pushed back the remount 3 months. And I think the new one is not scheduled to next February. So we ordered that like last March, I think.
We put it out last March.
So definitely it's hard enough to plan what you're gonna need 6 months from now, much less 2 years. So.
Do we get it better, like if we order it today, do we get today's price and it's set? Or do
I
they,
think once
do
they
they
did
have
it, it's set,
I
right?
believe it was set, yeah, I don't think there was.
an escalation clause or something?
Right, I know we had that on a couple of the highway vehicles, but I don't recall there being, it was that price. So.
Is anyone opposed to moving forward in that fashion? Or do you have an alternative idea?
Sounds good to me.
You have our consensus to move forward. All right. Thank you, Ms. Young. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just like doing the bid process so much.
If I need 5 minutes.
I don't know if we have to appropriate money or let it sit there for some years.
You probably have to have money available. You got one more.
Cheeks.
Those cheeks.
I know.
But once it's there, you got it, or I'm sure
It's like I'm cold for being.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
You remember my face?
You should.
Hey, how does this go down? This meeting, they're getting this from your seven, I understand the amounts. This meeting, like, they see some, that's their thing.
I know. Okay.
So if they had $750, they're not.
Well, you have to look at, like the county's tax rate is 33 cents or 36 cents per hundred.
Rosie, you've been up there.
That's how much we do losing no tax. Each entity loses.
I've been up there, so I haven't toured it, but it's been amazing.
You're losing because they gave us.
Sure. So what that
So
means,
every tax year, we give their portion of their.
but in turn, that means you and I are paying more taxes.
Yes, because that makes business.
That's what I saw.
I know that. We looked really at.
So they don't have to tax, we gotta shift the taxes.
Looks different, doesn't it?
That's what I saw. I just like that. It's not a combination, right? Was that right?
Yes. Ours, the libraries, the ambulance, the airport.
There's too many buildings. The other things on there that means job there. And he came back anyway. It's so important he had to come back. Ready for something.
Oh, yeah? I thought about
They wouldn't have their own.
So he was there if because the concept, we just said no. I need to make sure I stay there. Good call. That would suck. Yeah, it's gonna be a good game. Hey. How are you?
Hey, Terry.
Bainbridge Township is
Got an idea now.
I appreciate that.
Sometimes it's muddy, it goes on range, whatever. It was just perfect. Anyway, keep that one.
All right, let's go ahead and, we'll get a couple minutes ahead of schedule. We'll get the substance abuse council up. Mr. Tanner's here and.
I'm the spokesperson today.
Okay.
So if you get a spare minute. we can
Terry's here also, Terry Tanner, we've both been a member of the DuBois County Substance Abuse Council for many, many years. We do have a handout for you as far as what grants were distributed last year. So Cerise, this is probably like a learning lesson for you here today. So the DuBois County Substance Abuse Council operates only from user fees that are generated from people who have things like DUIs and those type of offenses. So when they pay their fees, a portion of that goes to the DuBois County Substance Abuse Council, and that is the only way those funds can be spent. So even though you all would love to have those for roads or something like that, they can't be spent that way. So it's a granting process The council meets monthly on the second Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. We meet now in the rooms at the library, those free rooms at the library. And really, we have a whole room full of people now. Chad's been involved in the group for years, and sometimes we didn't have so many people. Now we have probably about 30 people from all walks of life and all types of organizations that attend. And then they, in turn, request funding annually. There is a like a process that we go through and accept applications for the funding. And the money has to be spent in 3 categories: prevention, education, treatment, intervention, and criminal justice services. Then we do have a 4th category, discretionary, because we do have a paid coordinator. And the reason for that is there is a comprehensive plan that is due at the state every year. There's also a quarterly report. And it just takes someone really who's dedicated to working on those things as an employee. We've had the Substance Abuse Council in many forms, probably over the past 35 years. It was an initiative initially from Governor Bai, and that on a local level, the local coordinating councils were developed, and that was a part of the state statute when Governor Bai was the governor, of course. So through the years, it's been named a lot of things, but now it is the DuBois County Substance Abuse Council. And the mission is to reduce the problems associated with substance abuse in DuBois County in order to enhance family and community life. So the organizations that receive the money, they also do things in the community that meet that mission, and also have to involve those three budgetary categories. So the report today is really to tell you that we went before the county council. We did it backwards this year because of the timing of the meetings, and they did approve that. And Sandy will have to correct me if any of these are wrong. I have Terry's notes here. For prevention education, that budget will be $10,552.86. Treatment intervention, $10,552.86. Criminal justice services, $10,552.85. And then discretionary, $10,552.85. So that totals $42,211.42. And those are the funds that were collected in 2022 that will be spent then in 2023. So it's always in arrears that we're using those funds. Were those numbers correct? Okay, good. Thank you, Terry. So anyway, that's pretty well the way the program operates. Again, it is on a basis where they have to apply for the funds. Sometimes there's not enough money to cover each of them. Sometimes we have to dip into 2 different categories for a special project because they meet the goals of 2 different categories. And many times they ask for something and we can only fund partially because there's only so much funds available. So any questions?
Yeah, I like that. I like the point that you made though. Some years we would sit around and try to select who we were going to give grants to. We're like, I don't know if these qualify. And sometimes there wasn't, we had a hard time getting the money away because people didn't apply. And then other years, such good ones applied, we didn't have enough money to fund them all.
Yeah, that's very true.
And it's great that the number of people helping and being a part of the group has increased.
Yeah, and you can
People
tell,
are
right,
interested
there are
in
those groups that got the funds. They're widely varied. So, and they do a lot of different things in the community. And then also each one of those funding entities, they have to give a report back to the Substance Abuse Council after the funds have been spent, or at least until they're well into their program. And they cannot apply for funds again until they've given a report on how they spent the prior funds. So it's a good system.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
And the other thing, that's nice is it usually will help the participants in probation or drug court or those things by paying for the drug test so it doesn't come out of their pocket. So
That's
the
true.
people that fund the things are getting some of the benefit in addition to the county as a whole. Can you tell us your meeting times and location?
Yes, it's the second Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. at the library in those free meeting spaces right off the atrium.
So second Tuesday of the month.
Mhm.
And if someone is interested, you
They
could
can just show up.
contact someone that's on the Substance Abuse Council. They'll put you on an email list
Yes.
to remind you when the meetings are, or you can just show up. It's open to the public.
Right. And right now, Jenna Beaker Jones, she is the not the coordinator. She is the, like, president of the board, you might say. Our coordinator for the past couple of years, Brooke Lampert, she has resigned, so we're in the process of hiring a new coordinator. So that happens every couple of years, because it is very part-time. It's only like, I want to say 10 or, Sandy, what is it, 10
30
hours
hours a
month?
week,
30
a month.
a month, 30 hours a month.
Right now, she's 22 hours. Something.
It's like 22 hours a month, and then the 1 month when we're working on the grants, then she's allowed to work,
6 more hours.
yeah, 6 more hours. So it all works out within these funds.
Anybody else have anything for recycling?
All right, thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time this morning,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Terry.
Okay. So we have 15 minutes before the next item. Let's go ahead and talk with Mr. Wendell. Have you determined a recommendation for the board? You mind coming up and presenting that?
So all bids were complete and accurate, which is good. I do recommend awarding to Calcar Paving in the amount of $532,637.10. Everything was there, and was complete.
Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
No.
I'll move that we approve the acceptance of the high bidder, or the low bidder, I apologize. Calcar Paving in the amount of $532,637.10. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
I do need some autographs. This is the bid form 96, stating that they prefer bids. Those three there.
Seal. Is there other pages to put?
Calcar, okay?
Well, seal. That's on there,
No,
right?
no, I'm sorry. No, this is
Just
no,
one.
no,
Here's the other.
no, there's no signatures there. It's just pop pass.
CR.
It's the bid.
I heard that one.
And then, so there's not for sign, it's just.
Those are like print names to the side here.
No, just sign. That's all we're doing.
This is very.
I just accept it.
Which CR?
Sorry.
It's this one right here.
Yep.
Do you need this one back? I know, but where are they from?
Gordon.
Okay.
They had done a lot of work for us in the past.
Brad, would you like the
This one
bids
back?
No,
sheet?
that's for you. I got mine.
Thank you. Good?
Yep, that's all I need. Thank you.
Okay, we had some miscellaneous items for the end of the meeting. We'll go ahead and talk about those now. Let's do the surplus items.
Law books that are in my office behind me from 2016. The judge has reviewed them and he feels that they're no longer valid. If we wanted to update them, he thinks we'd have to get a hold of them, which I do not wish to do. I have to declare those surplus.
Are there any other items?
And then I have 2 adding machines that are in my office that don't function, so I'd like to get rid of those.
And we have a request on the table. Anybody have any thoughts? No thoughts?
No thoughts.
Okay. I'll move that we approve the declaration of these items as surplus to be disposed of.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, same sign. The motion carries. So the law book, what are we gonna do with it? We're gonna take them to solid waste for recycling, or would there be any value to anyone anywhere?
Generally speaking, most practitioners now they use online resources. I know our office itself, we have the books, but I don't know if we do the supplemental updates to them any longer. We do most of the stuff online, so I don't know that. The only thing I'd mentioned to Sandy is potentially if the jail or community corrections did not have a set, but they're said maybe, they may have an online subscription too, would be the only place.
The judge pretty much said the only thing they are is for photo ops if you want folks behind you.
Correct. That's why we keep ours, so in case we want a billboard one day, we'll just say,
I mean, they're awesome.
every time Brent FaceTimes me, I stand in front of him.
I always thought it was background, but no, it's just like.
So let's, I guess we can send a message to the sheriff, see if he wants them, otherwise we can ask solid waste if, Scott, if you can take them to solid waste to recycle. Sound good? I guess the same way with the adding machines, electronics, they'll take those too.
Well, the thing with us, we're gonna get carpet this week, and I think they're planning on Wednesday and Thursday. We may have other items, so I'll compile a list.
Sounds good. We had Jasper Planning Commission appointment, so with Mr. Mariner, correct, he was coming off of that board.
That's correct.
Is he already off the board, or is he?
His last meeting was this past Wednesday. He was in attendance, but said that he was done, so.
And if I recall, the qualifications would be, of course, you gotta be 18, you have to be a DuBois County resident that lives within the 2-mile jurisdiction of the city of Jasper, and you have to be a landowner, would that be?
Those are the requirements, yes.
Is there a partisan requirement?
Just for the board as a whole, that you can't have, if it's 7 members, then 5 of them can't be of the same party. The board's bigger than that, I think it's 11 members.
So do we have a partisan requirement for our member as we reappoint? Not that you're aware of?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
I don't believe that we have a partisan, what we have done in the past, because we had replaced a couple of times already so far, is to try to match who went off, so that we weren't upsetting the apple cart, so to speak.
So does anyone have any suggestions or anyone that would like to then do that, I guess? Are you within the 2-mile jurisdiction of the county, of city? As we say, I probably am, but I'm not gonna serve on the board, we, as a citizen do it. You're in city limits for now.
Mhm.
So, guess we, it's out there, we need an appointment.
I sit on the board, and I've had some people make recommendations or ideas of folks that I could share with you guys if you want to vet them accordingly.
Would you like to share them now, or would it be more appropriate to do it privately?
I'll do it privately.
So, seeing if you put that on the next meeting agenda for 5 minutes, and we can maybe work out someone for that position going forward. Does that sound good?
Is that a recent appointment?
Mr. Marrier's been on there for many years, but was he just reappointed? I don't recall.
We got to finish his term, and I think he has two years left in his current appointed term. But he'd been on there for 20 plus years.
Okay, I thought so, but I just remember.
Well, Randy was a great asset,
In that
and
2-mile jurisdiction over there.
he served on the Board of Zoning Appeals from the Planning Commission also, so he was a heck of an asset.
I'm certain there's gonna be people that would be interested in serving on it, but we just have to find who they were. So if you have people that you wanna share with us privately, that would be fine, we can consider them. Or we can bring our own folks if we have someone. But I suppose the next meeting when this comes up, each of us will bring up a candidate if we have any. If we don't, then we'll see what the others come up with, and we'll go from there.
Right. The board is large enough that to keep a quorum, it's, I'm not saying let it sit for 4 months, but
Are they a monthly meeting?
it's a monthly meeting, first Wednesday of every month. And it's overly well compensated.
They're compensated?
They are compensated, but it is not overly compensated. That part was sarcasm.
I caught that. I was assuming it was zero pay, but what is the compensation? You think $50 a meeting or something?
No, it's $500 for the year.
500 a year, okay.
Brent's interested. He's gonna move.
Nope, I'm not moving around.
Okay, so for the 20 people that watch our meeting every week, 2 watching currently, if you're interested, please contact one of us. Do we have anything from the attorney this week?
No, it's a broken record on mine, waiting still to get the closing taken care of for the trash site. And again, Steve and I have been some general conversations about other matters, so nothing new and exciting for you, sorry.
Okay.
But that's a good thing for what it's worth.
Yes, it is. Alternate,
Done mine.
other commissioners? Stefan?
I've got one question for Steve. Have we heard anything as far as our public meeting for the White Stallion?
Haven't yet, still waiting on DNR approvals.
Okay.
Mike was in a couple of days ago and we had a sit down, and talked about, the reclamation of the road, how that was gonna take place, but, we're still working on a couple of things, yeah.
So can you remind me, because I don't remember, what was the nature of the meeting going to be and who were the hopeful participants?
All of the impacted landowners, the DNR, White Stallion members, myself, and Commissioner.
So the goal was to have all those people meet and just say, here's where we are, here's where this currently stands, and who's the hardest to get at the table?
Pardon?
Who's the hardest person to bring into that meeting to the table? Is somebody holding it up?
No, like I said, we're just waiting for DNR approval for the reclamation plan. Once that comes into play, then everything can go. I don't think the White Stallion or the people in charge of the reclamation want to say just too much without prior approval from the DNR, because that could change things. So.
And there's not really going to be value, I guess, of having a meeting with just the people in the area if you don't have anything to tell them.
Right.
Because part of me was wondering, well, should we just have a meeting anyway? But if you don't have anything to say, there won't be anything but speculation, I suppose.
Yeah, we're hoping that the approval comes in quickly. Best assumption, it could be 30 to 60 days before something comes back from the DNR. I know they'd like to see this wrapped up as well, so.
Who put the reclamation plan together that they're reviewing?
Michael Costello's bunch.
The holders of the asset?
Indemnity National, I believe, is who he represents.
So the people that are in control of the bonds and the bankruptcy portion? Or those?
Not so much. I think they represent the bonding company to assure that the reclamation gets handled properly and cost effectively. So.
How long has it been? Do you know? How long has it been since they've been reviewing it, or?
Year and a half.
You mean there's been a reclamation plan that DNR has been holding for a year and a half? That they haven't?
No. It's taken that long, and I think a lot of the holdup has been the bankruptcy itself.
Was that the question you were asking? How long has DNR had the plan?
How long have they had the plan? How long have they been reviewing it before we can set some kind of a date?
Okay, yeah, I think they have just gotten it in their hands probably within the last week or so, according to Mike.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
so,
wanted to make sure that it wasn't
yeah,
20
I
or
don't
close
think
to
there would
30
be
days
anybody
now.
there unless there's something really way out of whack there that, I think DNR would like to see it wrapped up as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'd take them a time, but I didn't know how long they were. Okay, so it's only been about a week. Okay.
All right, Veteran Services update. Come on down.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I just wanted to introduce Rebecca to everybody. And you know what she's doing? She's doing great.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Rebecca, you want to tell us who you are, what your role is, anything you can tell us about?
Well, right now I'm her office manager because the traffic is so much. We have, there's times that we have 9 people in the office coming and going while she's trying to do interviews and stuff. So I'm making appointments and I have to get certified so I can start doing claims when she does. Not quite there yet, but
So right now, you're a face and a person that can, someone that comes in can talk to without interrupting the things that she's in the middle of and the,
we joke that I'm the gatekeeper.
which is what we needed.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a person in the public and I wanna talk to you and you're busy, I'm mad because nobody's giving me
Right.
service.
Right.
But you can't really interrupt the person you're with because then you make them mad.
Right,
So,
Yeah, so I think there's a better flow now. People seem to be happier, I would say, because we're returning phone calls and making appointments. And because I'm in the middle of my certification, I can answer some questions, but not all. And then if I can't, I either, if it's on the phone, I'll just call them back, say, Susan, call you back. So it's a little more efficient there than it's theirs, so.
Biggest thing is people are getting the phone calls back, so that's huge.
And when was your first day?
January 3rd, I was interning since what, November, or something before that. January 3rd was my first official day.
So what else is going on in the office?
Oh, busy. I'm finally getting my huge stack I couldn't see over. It's kind of dwindling me down now, so that's good. Yeah, just stops normal. Just keep going, plugging away.
So someone from the public, if they wanna know, a veteran especially, well, why should I come down and talk to you? Or why should I have an appointment? Yeah, just say it in a general sense. Why would somebody wanna come and talk to
Actually,
you?
what's happening now is word of mouth. People are saying my friend came in and then they told me to come down to the veteran service office in Jasper. So they're coming from all over. Tell City, who's the guy from New York? That's up by Bedford or something.
Yeah, we're getting them all over now, so, yeah, it's good, because, I mean, offices popping, people are getting their claims done, money's getting spent, so, yeah.
So our primary focus, what I talked about before, would be Du Bois County people, because every county is responsible for having them.
Right.
Just because, I won't say another county's name, I don't know if they're doing a good job or not, but let's say County X is doing a poor job, so they come here. That shouldn't put a Du Bois County person back, but we
No.
still wanna help all the veterans
Absolutely.
as we can with the time we have.
But yeah, we're getting them, we're getting a roll now, it's starting to go a little bit smoother, so, yeah.
Had issues, are you having anything what's the biggest problems that you're having?
Just volume, I think.
Yeah, we're already in March, got the appointments.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time, interviewing people, getting their claims done, I mean, on average, it will take me about 6 hours for one claim. So, each person's, and I'm not gonna diminish or lessen anybody's interview or help, so I focus on every single bit as much as I can, so, yeah.
And for every person that applies or comes in and talks to you as an interview, do you have a feeling of how many of those are approved out of every 10 you get? People that are getting benefits if they were.
Yeah, not to boast, but everybody I've had has gotten something.
Since I've been there for the last 4 weeks, I would say that 20 people have walked in saying they got 100% because of her.
And again, it's not that they're just getting some freebie, these are earned benefits
Oh,
that they're eligible for.
Yeah.
And you are working them through the process to make sure that they're getting it.
Right, and then when they get 100%, they get free demo, so that's like another icing on the cake for them.
So I appreciate what you're doing, and do you feel, for you, Susan, that this is helping with your load and how you feel about the position?
Stress. Yeah.
Those kind of items.
Yeah, well, she's kind of laid down the law. Instead of working until 8, 9 o'clock at night, she's like, you're out here at 4. Okay. But my workload is dropping, so I mean, with her helping me, it's just.
So I'm kind of a boundaries person. Before I got there, people were walking in on her interviews and stuff like that. And it's not that I don't want to help people, but I kind of stop people at the door and get them get them their appointments. There are some older clientele that they're trying to get an ID online, and we had kind of a slower afternoon. I think it was raining or something. So we tried to call the BMV and they wouldn't pick up, so I just drove over there. So now they're getting their veterans IDs through that too. So, personal service, that's what he said.
Yeah.
You know, because my concern was Sue's gonna be burned up and done with this job in no time. You were doing such a good job, I didn't want that to happen, so I'm happy that
Well, like
boundaries are needed because people
Yeah,
want to serve
absolutely.
people.
People think boundaries are bad, but they're not. It's just, then you learn how to talk to each other and treat each other and.
where the, yeah.
This is what acceptable is.
Yeah. But I tell you, I see why Gary was so burnt out. I mean, that poor guy, if she would have come, I don't know if I could have handled it all by myself. It was just way too much. And I'm a pretty tough girl, but I mean, good Lord.
I don't think anybody can handle that, what you're doing.
Oh, geez, it was a lot. Feeling guilty that I couldn't get everybody taken care of and now it's.
Want them all done yesterday. That's how you were treating it, and that's not sustainable.
Yeah. So thank you for creating another position.
What else do you need from the county to help with your work? Anything at this time?
Not at this.
Not at this point. It's too soon to tell.
Yeah.
We're working through files, probably take about another month to get everything situated with the backlogs. And then we'll start fresh. We'll start getting people, it'll be a regular flow.
It's in a couple months. It's gonna take a little bit longer.
Eventually I'll get my certification done, so that'll help also.
Yeah, get her up and rolling. It'll be busting out claims. It'll be nice. So
As we mentioned before, we want to be a veteran-friendly community, and I think this is a way to help.
I think it's becoming better and friendly.
Yeah.
There's not a day that goes by when nobody's in office.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's 10 people in there.
Yeah, especially on Tuesday morning. It's like because everybody's been thinking about stuff.
Or getting letters and stuff
Letters.
like that. So.
Yeah. I'm feeling a lot better. So yeah.
Good to hear.
It's interesting, we have these old Marine Vietnam vets and like a VA letter scares them to death.
I know.
They just bring it in. What's this?
What is this?
Yes, Tuesday morning.
The auditor's office has that happen too, and the treasurer's office. The assessor's office. I got this, it scares me. What?
Yeah.
True.
They're not scared of the jungle, but don't send them a letter.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. I need my glasses.
Thank you for what you do.
Thanks, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
We love it, we're passionate,
Oh
so,
yeah.
probably one more month. I'd say about one, maybe two.
She's optimistic, but
Yeah, we're getting it situated.
she's prior Navy, so she's got.
Okay, perfect.
How are we doing on the transportation front with the vans and those? Are you still managing the phone calls?
Yeah, I
Setting
do
those
that,
up.
I do
How's that
that.
going?
We went to a meeting last week, I think it's getting ironed out, so far so good.
You have enough drivers?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely, I
okay.
think they're working on another van.
Yeah.
How many vans do we currently have?
One.
Just one.
So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I think we have enough people for 2 vans. So,
And how far do we go with those?
Louisville and Evansville.
and we'll be down to Owensboro and up to Wilmington.
Yeah, they go to the community center, community care,
Community care.
or VA hospital.
So we don't go as far as like Marion? Okay.
We haven't yet.
There's another van that comes out of there.
So
It's a
there
different
is.
number, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
They brought that up to me a couple of weeks ago. I haven't used it yet though.
Okay,
So,
that's interesting.
yeah, they said there's one that comes out of Marion.
Because the services that they can't get at Louisville or Evansville, and then go to Marion, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with the community care now, it's cutting a lot of the Marion stuff out. So, and these guys can't physically ride that far. They just
Sure.
were broken. Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, they're pretty good about trying to care for them as well, understanding their problems. So,
Very nice.
Thank you, it was good to meet you, see you in person, and.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you for what you're both doing.
thank you guys. Have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of the week.
Thanks, have a good week.
Thanks.
How about this, Mr. Wilson, you wanna come up and give us a staffing update, and then at 10 o'clock, we will, talk about awarding a bid potentially here?
Really two topics on staffing. One is I'm requesting permission to make a formal conditional offer to Emily Steffi of Plainville, Indiana. She was previously in our hiring process that we ran back in November and was retained as a possible future candidate. Her hiring, I'm requesting to begin work February 27th. I have been in communication with Marky to facilitate that. She would take the place indirectly of Aaron Miller, who is leaving the Tuesday before. We don't have all the solutions in place to fill Aaron's absence for his shift supervisor role, his trainer role. Those have yet to be determined. We just don't have a good solution yet. We're working on it. Make a plan this week on a timeline to fill that role. But I have spoken with Ms. Steffi. She's accepted an informal offer. She definitely is interested in coming to us and is looking forward to starting. So that would be the first line of business on staffing.
So does she have I believe she has experience?
She has about 6 years experience working in Davies County, Indiana's 911 center. She left to go to the world of private industry dispatching for a natural gas company and found it unfulfilling and wants to come back. So hopefully we can fulfill that people helper role and making a difference in the community. And she's gonna have a long drive to work. She assures me that she's been driving farther than that to go to her current job, and it's not an issue. So
That's gonna be my next question.
I had the same concern. We all did. She'll have nearly an hour drive one way, but her current drive is about an hour and 10 minutes one way. So some people don't mind a long drive to work.
Possibly move here.
Or we could
That's what I was gonna
have
recommend.
affordable
Give her a nice
housing
tour.
and
Turn on the charm.
yeah, I'd gladly. I'd love to have. We have six dispatchers who do not live in DuBois County, and I would love to have any of them live here for the community. Having a more worth in what you do, serving your community, it's important. It opens the door to a discussion about affordable housing in DuBois County that Cerise and I had briefly talked about a couple weeks ago. So it's all tied together, but step one is getting them to come to work for us and good qualified candidates. So far, we are filling that role as of today.
That's interesting. And as far as from the board, what we need to do, I suppose what we've done with the staff is give them approval on the hiring. So I'll move that we accept Emily Steffi as a dispatcher pending administrative process. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
So on the staffing front as well, we're continuing to be plagued with significant turnover, making 6 in 11 months. And it's been difficult. We don't have a good solution. We've had a couple of very good, very informative exit interviews that Marky has conducted. And I think we have some guidance on maybe some improvements we can make interdepartmentally and county administration wise that I'm working on. I've reached out to, and he's offered up his assistance. One of our longtime, actually the longest time member of our advisory board has
is gonna provide some assistance in putting together a presentation on what we need to do different and better for 911 to hopefully better retain our staff. I have a plan to be making a presentation for that probably in the first meeting in May of the Board of Commissioners. It's gonna take some time. I want to do some fact gathering, and it's going to include an ask for additional positions. I don't know a number. I am still kind of researching, but at some point, I'm gonna be coming forward and asking to add staff. That's been one of the points that's been driven home to me is we are asking too much of our people, particularly in training, and we are driving them out the door. It's too hard of a job. It's too fast-paced. The requirements that we have set are not reasonable long-term. They're not sustainable. So the result is we're losing 10-year employees, which is the worst-case scenario, because they are fully trained, they are reliable, and they're leaving. Because the satisfaction for the community helping aspect does not outweigh the future workload and work environment. So we got to make some changes. And I'm going to try to put together a presentation that's going to present all that to starting here with the timeline set for myself to be the first commissioners meeting in May. And then prior to that, even a presentation to the advisory board of what the plan is to move forward. So probably a special call. I will call a special meeting of the advisory board. Our normal meeting would be in June. And this needs to coincide with budget season and the budget ask moving forward. So that's kind of the pathway that I'm on. I will update the commissioners, board of commissioners, and the advisory board as I have more details. That's what our plan is as of today for staffing. I'd gladly answer any questions. Some of them I would be prepared to answer, and some of them I'm not prepared to answer today.
No, I think it's, okay. We're gonna come back to that. At 10 o'clock, it's time to do the bid, award. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Sure.
Employees.
Yep.
So, tell us what you found and what your recommendation is.
Following the procedure laid out in the request for proposal, we assembled a team in-house. The team initially was going to have 5 members. With the resignation, we were down to 4. And we made a selection process, ranked all of the bidders that met the requests in the RFP. And the team all landed with the same vendor as their number 1 choice, who also was the lowest bidder. So the consultant that was contracted with the county, had discussions with the company that is the sales company for that vendor, and negotiated some changes on their proposal. Recently, there has been some discussion about if we could make, if changes would be allowed or not. I think there is a differing opinion by Mr. Schneier.
I think what you had provided to me allows for what you were doing.
Perfect.
That was the clarification I needed, and I apologize for not getting
No, that's
that
okay.
last night. So
It was, I
I think you're in a position you can proceed with your recommendation.
okay.
I just didn't want, so I'd asked, I wanted to make sure that whatever we did by making, basically, if we had feature X,
Yes.
can vendor number 2 that didn't get the money say, well, if I knew that.
Right. And I think
it's
it's
our
a,
language allowed for some flexibility.
it's kind of a chicken or the egg situation, really. And there have been, it's been interpreted in different jurisdictions in Indiana that are bound by the same statute both ways. So I think it is certainly something that could be up for interpretation. And the latest recommendation to the consultant out of a different jurisdiction in Indiana was for us to proceed as we are trying here. And I don't know that that matters, but I do know that at least in 2 other jurisdictions, this is how they proceeded without a failure. So I'll gladly talk about the amended proposal that was received from that vendor on
late Friday evening, right before they closed for the day. They're a West Coast company, so they provided it to us about 7:45 p.m. Friday night. But we've ended up with the same vendor of choice, that being Watson Consoles, with the sales company being Thomas Shelby and Company out of Ohio. I think I provided in an email that went out Saturday morning the updated proposal from Watson and a description about why and what we were wanting to change from their original bid proposal. I think it's important to note that this better facilitates the work of the day in the center, and it allows our dispatchers, myself included, to adjust as they need to. So some people, like me, wear cheaters so they can see. And the screens are too far away to use cheater glasses as you age, and I'm hoping that someday we will continue to maintain an aging population of dispatchers, but when you can't see, it's hard. I suffered from eye strain and something called ocular migraines myself from the eye strain from working those positions, so I'm aware of it. It's a real problem, and this will far easier allow adjustments. The alternative is you individually grab 6 different monitors and bring them closer to you, which nobody's gonna do. It's too hard. You gotta get up, you gotta reach across, you gotta drag these monitors. The next person sits down, they're gonna sit down, they're gonna have to move these monitors. Just not a practical solution. So this allows for the entire array of monitors to move in one unit towards you. You literally grab the bar and pull, and all of the monitors come closer. And the work surface itself slides forwards and backwards, so you can adjust how close you're sitting to your work today. It's an expensive change. I mean, I do recognize that this entire project is astronomically expensive. I don't downplay the seriousness of it, but I think it's necessary. If I didn't feel it wasn't necessary, we would have cut it from the list. We did parse out a few items from the options on the original proposal that are not on this one as a cost saving measure. Believe it or not, we did cut it back some, even though the end result is still a very significant amount of money. I think it's the right product for us to buy, for us to be able to best do our work of the day.
Okay, can you give us a specific bid amount that you're, for the final bid amount?
I don't want to get it wrong.
While you're looking, I'll say that the renderings and the specs and everything that they put together, pretty impressive. It looks like, and to your point that you mentioned previously, we bought from this company 20 plus years ago, and it held up. It's done what it's supposed to do for 24 hours, 365. It's not 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And
I think
it's been a quality product.
Absolutely. The only thing in the county that would exist that would even be in comparison would be the jail control room at community correction, or the sheriff's office and control room and community corrections. You know, there's very few seats in this county that always have somebody sitting in them, but those are the ones. So I'm very comfortable with Watson as the manufacturer and Thomas Shelby as the vendor. I have had numerous contacts with them just in my time, and they've been wonderful to work with. And, I have the utmost confidence that Watson as the manufacturer and Thomas Shelby is the selling vendor. We're in a good place with them, and I think that those previous relationships are important. I did not give that opinion or any of this information to the team members that were involved in the selection process to hopefully allow them to remain impartial. So, in the end, I think we're in a very successful situation, other than the hard number, which is $127,000, $127,917.38. So 127,917.38.
My expectation at the beginning of this was it was going to be 150,000.
Right.
So
mine as well.
140s, but so I think we're getting a good product. When we compare them to the others, this looks like something that's going to serve us well. It's going to be a good start in a new location. And again, if you're working we're looking at employee retention. We want them to have a workspace that's functional. We want to make a hard job as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And this is one little way to do that. Anybody have any comments about awarding the bid to Shelby and Watson as manufacturer? Any comments, concerns?
I feel comfortable that the way you went about it, that this is the right choice.
And, yeah, so I guess I would say I'll move that we approve and accept the bid for Watson Manufacturer and Shelby as a sales person for the contract as it's been presented to us.
I will second your motion.
Okay, any other discussion? Is there anything else you need to say?
I need to share with Sandy. I'm certain, I don't think I included her in that email that went out Saturday morning. So she does not have the updated proposal for the public review aspect.
You just provided, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we can go back to the staffing issue.
Okay.
If you have other things you'd have to say there. So I do believe at the previous council meeting, you've asked for additional funds because you're gonna have people that are there are going to have some additional overtime possibly, and there's gonna be some other expenses.
There will be, and that pathway is not sustainable long-term, and we can't pay time and a half wages. It's cheaper to fill the spot. Even with benefits, it is cheaper to fill the position to not have that overtime expenditure. We are trying to keep a lid on it. We just had assistant director and I just had a conversation before I was here about we will do our best. However, there's only so many hours in the day, and there are so many positions that need to be filled. I think that this entire what I'm looking for is for this entire information gathering and pathway that we choose to coincide with other considerations for other departments that may directly reflect a change in our workload at our center. And I'm hoping to have some answers as to staffing changes that may happen at other departments that we serve. It's important. And I think it can, we don't need to have the conversation twice is what I'm hoping. And I hope for it to coincide with budget season, if that's what you call it, just the pathways. So, for us, June advisory board, July presentation to the council, August discussion with council, and maybe an approval at council level. And I want this to all coincide with that timeline. And then probably have a hiring process kicking off in November for January 1, 2024. That's a long time away, and it's a long time to work short staff. But I'd rather do something one time and do it thoroughly and correctly than do it twice.
And with your training regimen that you have out there, we talk often about it being around a 6-month process if necessary. Sometimes a little shorter, sometimes a little longer, whatever it takes for an individual. People learn at a different pace or can pick it up. So if we pick up a person like Emily Steffi, who has some experience, what is the shortest amount of time that someone like that until they're on their own?
4.5 months is the shortest that we've seen in the last 5 years worth of hires. And we've seen that 3 times, about 4.5 to 5 months. It could be shorter. One of our newest hires is, she's smart, she's sharp, she retains well, she's a younger person. So you don't have that gap in that learning gap that happens with adult learners. That's difficult to overcome for them. And I know that my own experience from being an adult learner in the center in 2021. Felt like I was back in school again. And it's hard when you're my age to get back into that training role. So that can hinder some of the speed of the training, but it doesn't mean, what I don't want us to do is make the training so difficult that our people give up. If I look at the last 5 years of hires for our center, we only have one person that is still with us today that was not, didn't come from public safety. She had no experience and was totally green. That's bad numbers. We've had a lot of other people come and go. So that needs to be part of this consideration. In-house, that would be something in-house for us to consider making some changes on. And I want this to be kind of an all-encompassing situation for us to resolve. If we need to make changes in-house, let's make them. If we need to add staff, let's add them. If we need to, make equipment changes, let's do that. It just needs to be kind of an entire work of the day for the center, reevaluation of what we're doing. If we're not retaining anybody that has, if the only people we're retaining have prior public safety experience, we need to change some things. Maybe we are working everybody too hard. Maybe we are expecting too much out of training. Maybe we're pushing them at a rate that's too great. Maybe we don't train as much. I don't know. Those are decisions. Those are tough decisions that our training coordinator needs to make, who's our assistant director. She's been doing this far longer than what I have, and I trust her advice. It's very sound. She's a 19-year employee. She knows what she's doing. I have a lot of faith in her.
It's good to hear that you're looking at changes, because if you lose people, there's apparently something that needs to be changed. And there's nothing worse than that one employee we had to go through all the training. You're not in training anymore. I can't do this work, and they quit. That, because then you've taken double the time. We don't want that to happen. One of the issues is it's a specialized kind of work, and you have to have some level of rigidity. You got to do it a certain way, and that's tough for some people.
Right.
But we can't lower our standards for what the people that are there are doing. So
no, that's there are some things that there's no wiggle room on, and lowering our training standards or lowering the level of service that we provide to our community, our first responders, and our 911 callers. That is a deal breaker in any of these discussions. I've got a pretty hard line stance on that. We provide a very good level of service, a premium level of service for our 911 center, and no matter what we do, we're not going to derail that. Not under my watch. I think that any of my senior staff would agree that that's important. Those are the people we serve, and that needs to be a focus. Turnover's hard, but providing poor service to a 911 caller would be the worst.
anything else?
I think that's enough for one meeting.
I agree. Anybody up here? Hey, come back with good news next time.
I'll try. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson, appreciate it. So the next item on the agenda is Cash Wagner, is that correct? They have a subdivision, something for review?
Yeah, a petition for vacation of a subdivision and the acceptance of a new one. A few copies.
And I'll tell you, I tried to review the information that you sent previously. I tried to educate myself before the meeting, and it didn't make sense to me, so if you'll just give me for my purposes, if nobody else, just the basics.
Does anybody want a full copy?
Right, yeah.
It has been. It's not, but I did not know.
I think the discussion is that Cash Wagner may have thought, tell me if I'm wrong, thought that it didn't need to go through that process because it's
Yeah.
it didn't meet those standards.
It is a minor subdivision. However, with the vacation of the existing subdivision, that had to be approved by the commissioners. So the last one that we did. The last one that we did, so there's no lapse in title for the existing structures. There is a residence on this one. We had to vacate and then immediately accept the new subdivision. So I'm here representing Mr. Bagley and the Skinners. It was originally platted with a leg of the lot that went out to the existing county road. They did dedicate right away. However, they ended up using, instead of putting in a new driveway, they ended up using an existing field entrance.
So these are people we dealt with before. This looks familiar, or at least we had a similar, so this is what
They came in last
summer sometime with the concern about how this might be fixed, and I think some meeting of the minds, and then ultimately the decision was made on how to go forward with it.
Okay, so this is one that we've talked about previously. And they have 35 feet of frontage, is that what they have?
They have 60 feet of total road frontage on the property. They're dedicating 30 feet of right of way as required.
Go, please proceed.
There were a few issues with easements. They didn't own their driveway, so they actually had a written easement for it. That easement will now go away since they will own the lot if it is approved. And then we are also dedicating a 20-foot ingress egress easement along the south side of the new lot 1. And that will benefit landowners further back that still use that driveway.
Can you tell me, is the one that you have in front of us here, the one that's Reed Bagley, second edition, subdivision, Cass Township, is this the existing?
That's the new one.
That's the new one. So what's the existing look like?
Bagley's first edition.
Your last page.
My last page, okay. So this is what we have currently.
If you look at the color photo too, there's an outline of what it is now.
Of the existing one, yeah.
Sit here, Steve.
The one with the broken line is part of the existing?
Yes, it's labeled Jeff and Bridget Skinner. That is the existing one.
Okay, so the Skinners own the house, they currently own what would be listed here as Jeffrey Skinner, the thing that's on the north part of their property.
Yeah, we're gonna,
They currently own this with this,
correct.
okay? And they haven't had an easement from someone to use this gravel lot to their own,
Yes,
but we still require them to have the frontage, because that's part of the agreement in case that easement went away. Am I correct so far?
yeah, they would need that easement. However, since they will own that property, that easement will go away to them. But
Then those people will need an easement from the new person.
yeah, so on this plat, it is dedicated a 20-foot public utility and ingress egress easement. So that easement stays there for Mr. Bagley, and there was another gentleman that owns land back there. And that area is also an existing easement for a Dirkholz that owns a wooded lot further back. So we're utilizing an existing easement. 2 more entities are gonna benefit from it.
So, help me out one more time then. So currently, they own this, they own that, and that's it. Now, what they're wanting to do is,
Vacate the northern parts. Vacate that'll go back to Mr. Bagley.
okay, he gets that back
And Mr. Bagley's gonna give them that leg on the south.
between here and here.
Well, just that dark line.
And that dark line gets them that driveway.
Their driveway is not entirely on Mr. Bagley's property.
So who's gonna own this piece down here?
That is currently a gap in title between the two.
So who will own it eventually? Are we gonna correct it?
We could correct it. We can't say that Mr. Bagley owns it right now, so he is only dedicating what he definitely owns.
So they're taking the top piece and flipping.
Is that broken
This
line?
is what we discussed. No, that broken line's the edge of the
That's
driveway.
just showing the edge of the driveway. So right now, this is no man's land?
We can't say that. There's a gap in current title.
Uh-huh.
At one point in time, somebody owned it. It never got transferred.
Where's that, where you putting it down?
This space down here, because part of the driveway goes in this space down here, and there's a gap in title of who, or a gap in something of who
So
owns that.
that is the north line of this property owner. This dark line is the south line of Mr. Bagley. So there's an approximate 30-foot gap in current title. Somebody owns it. We didn't trace it back. Mr. Bagley did not want to dedicate that at this time. We're holding what he definitively owns right now.
So from the beginning of this, Mr. Bagley didn't, if from memory, he didn't like having to cut that piece of land off, right? And there was some issue with who owned what, and
Yeah, I don't know why they chose to
Wasn't this the
put
one
that
that
access in there.
they bought the property, dedicated that as their driveway, and then we're gonna deed it back to him.
Yes,
Correct.
that's exactly what happened.
Okay,
Because they thought they could, once it was platted and they had their house built, they could just give it back to them.
and then we didn't allow it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So I think do you guys have at least somewhat of an understanding of what the request is?
What?
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so how about over here? You guys have you know what the request is?
Yeah.
Are you saying that this process that he's going through, you don't believe is the correct steps? Or
No,
do
the
we-
process is fine. The review committee, the three of us have not had a chance to review this.
It's the first time we've
Yeah.
seen it.
He's been out of town, so
So with is this one that should go to you first? Or does every single one go to your?
Every one of them comes before our eyeballs. We all check and review them.
So we can
And then give you a
answer your
recommendation.
questions.
Figure out what's going on.
So ideally, he would have gotten this to you 3 weeks ago, you would have looked at it, you would have been in town, and then you could say, here's what's wrong with it, here's what's
We
right with
could
it.
have that corrected by the time he would show up today. Whatever it may be, maybe nothing
Sure.
is wrong.
And then from your standpoint, you're just wanting to get this taken care of as quickly as possible and.
Yeah, there are some personal issues with some of the owners. They want to see it done as quick as possible.
Sure. So even though this didn't happen in the process that you would normally be comfortable with in the way that we want to do it, would you like additional time to review this, or if you had sufficient time now to consider this?
I had asked for a copy and I didn't even get a copy in our office where I could actually look at it. All I got was an email with a link. And I believe Sandy had asked for copies to be dropped off and nothing ever showed up when I was here Friday.
So those links, they'll have these.
Right.
You didn't want a digital copy, you wanted a paper copy?
Yes, in the past, we've always gotten paper copies, just so we can review, look, maybe
agree.
mark on, whatever. It's very hard to look at your computer and then look at a GIS map and then open up MVP and verify a lot of things that I look at. I mean, I would need 3 monitors on
It's
my
the
desk.
same as the Bailey's first.
So they were provided, just not in the form that we're.
Correct, and he had asked if we needed copies, he would drop them off Friday, but they never showed up.
Yeah,
So,
I was under the impersonation that it did not have to go to the subdivision review committee, being that the commissioners ultimately sign off on it.
Well-
I don't know if that's what we did last time or not. Going forward, we can certainly do that.
No, you guys
But
have
this
always
is a
been
minor
good,
that we
you guys
can
have always
sign
been good partners, and if that's how they want it, or that's how we want it, then,
Oh,
you know, in the future, we'll just do that, I'm sure that won't be a problem. So no,
We finally got them back in our hands Friday and got them to you as soon as we could. I know there were a couple questions about restrictive covenants.
That's one of them. That's just the first thing I noticed.
Yeah,
On here.
and I haven't even really even looked at it yet.
I know the ordinance does not require any specific restrictive covenants. They're typically on there. But in the end, we still have to follow, the lot owners still have to follow all rules and regulations set by the county.
Okay, so it sounds like, would the three of you like additional time to review this before we make an approval?
I can-
Or not
I
It's up to
would.
them
I
to-
mean, ultimately, it's your call whether you say yes or no, go with it, but none of us have had a chance to review, so.
I would like to give them additional time to review it.
It's also one of their calls.
2 weeks
change it?
gonna hurt you? 2 weeks?
No. If it's going through the review committee, do we do 10 days and have it signed up by the review committee?
With the vacation of the previous plat, the reason we did it last time, because it's better for them to vacate the plat, and then while they're here looking at the plat, they just sign and win it with the other.
Immediately follow with that.
That's,
Sure.
well, that's why I think that's smoother if we have them sign a plat, approve the plat, just for the sheer fact that they vacate the one, we don't have the authority, they didn't get, in the subdivision ordinance, they didn't give us the authority to vacate a plat, so that's gotta be done by them. Then you might as well, since there's no lull, then they just approve the following plat. That's the reason we did it last time.
Yeah.
If you were coming in blank, this is the first time we're seeing it, then the three of us could approve it, and they wouldn't have,
Yeah.
and that speeds it along for you, and it keeps it out of their hair. But since we're vacating this one and then approving this one, it's simpler just to do vacate.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
How will this adversely affect the Skinners or Mr. Bagley if we waited 2 weeks?
There were some health issues. They were pushing to get everything done just as soon as possible.
I'm with the two folks here. I hate to approve it. I think our goal over the years has been do what we can to help people as much as possible and get things done, but we don't want to do anything that would adversely affect.
I'm starting to see anything wrong with it, I just want to follow the right channels and do it.
Sandy, when can we do this in 2 weeks?
No, whenever works. Next available.
9 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay, so thank you for providing these.
No problem. They are originals, so I'll leave that the same with the commissioners signing off then.
And that way, you know, we've got this a team of people that know what they're talking about, have their eyes on it, and gives good recommendation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. And then the next time you're here, it should go quickly because you all had a.
Of course.
Anything else?
Would you guys like original copies?
I would, if I could, I don't have to, do you have a non-good copy? I mean, is everything out there what you're wanting to record at some point in time?
Yeah, like I said, with the time concern, they were web stamped, but they're all originals.
Okay.
Let me drop off a few copies of them today.
Yeah, just something, yeah. Because I don't want to damage something that you're gonna want for good copies.
Yes.
So any additions or corrections we can get with you, and you can have them corrected by the next meeting.
Yeah, I hope so.
Sure, the code's one that really stuck out. Everything else looks like it's there.
I was kind of excited.
I guess we kind of knowing what's to the west.
It's gonna be.
We'll vacate ones and start a new one.
Yeah, the rest of it's that over. Everyone's looking past that.
Okay, I think, thank you for coming in. I appreciate hearing your.
No problem. We're just trying to get it done as soon as possible and hopefully see you in 2 weeks.
All right, sounds good. Okay, thank you. That's 30 public comments. We'll take the public comment. There are any this week? Seeing none, okay. Anything else from highway? Anything else from the other commissioners?
Yeah.
Something else from highway.
I was afraid it was gonna be that.
I thought that went without saying.
You just gotta go back to him and say, go through.
That's kind of like putting public comments on our agenda. We should put that on our agenda.
There you go, yeah.
Even in the off season. Okay, last chance, anything else from the auditor? Anything from the attorney?
No, sir.
All right, close the meeting.
Right.
Already be.
Chiefs, they have a hockey team.